Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. Grab your popcorn, your drink or beverage of choice, cup of coffee, glass of red wine. Don't forget the Kool-Aid for the kids. Call your mama and your papa, your grandmama and your grandpapa. Call your neighbors and your friends. Call your relatives. Call your brothers and your sisters, your nieces and your nephews. Call them all. Let them know that Simon Says is on. Buckle up. We'll be right back. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back. Welcome back. I begin by calling on the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, on behalf of the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and the PT Martinique. We call for a commission of inquiry into the corruption, the fraud at the National Lottery Authority. We call for an investigation into William Batiste, the former chairman, and his friend, his girlfriend, Cindy Henry, the managing director of the Lottery Authority. We also call for the removal of the entire board of directors of the National Lottery Authority. We call also for a commission of inquiry at the gravel and concrete. We have worker building, apartment building, concrete dropping off Saturday, Sunday, Monday, with no record inside of the invoice. We need a commission of inquiry into the gravel and concrete as well, especially into the Ministry of MIT and Andy Williams. We need a commission of inquiry there as well, and a separate investigation, inquiry into Andy Williams and the bribery he took for the Cliff Road in exchange for the contract of the Cliff Road project. And then we have investigations that should take place or auditing the Postal Corporation, Grenada Development Bank. We are calling on the Prime Minister. Good start in getting rid of William Batiste, but we can't stay there. We can't stick there. We dare not. Because we have to find out why William Batiste was fired anyway. It had to be that bad, right? We need a commission of inquiry. The board of directors of the Grenada Development Bank, they need to be investigated. They need to be investigated. Moving along. Reba Bit. I don't even get the name right, but Reba Bit, gracing our ports on Wednesday, the 4th of March, 2026. A cement boat all the way from Nigeria, Africa. From Dangote Cement PLC, the largest cement producer in sub-Saharan Africa. The boat remained here for 7 days, offloading cement brought to Grenada by a company, Icon, allegedly by the company Icon, a company with the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Teddy St. Louis, listed as the contact person with the title Managing Director. And that's the company Icon, who in fact has been selling cement to gravel and concrete even before the Dangote boat arrive in Grenada. So this is no new thing. He has the company Icon that's been selling cement and maybe aggregates as well to gravel and concrete. If you look on your screen, you see photos of the boat down below in the hole where the cement. You see cement, huh? After 7 days of loading cement, on the seventh day, the boat left our shores with about, well, over 100 slings left back, only because there was nowhere left on island to store cement. The boat arrived with 6,000 slings, a mixture of jumbo and regular cement. 6,000 slings. If you look there, a beautiful boat leaving port. She's sailing away there. The Icon sail. Now Icon sells the cement to gravel and concrete. So gravel and concrete, I guess, is loaded. Reno is loaded out there in Bush Issue. Cement everywhere. So it is alleged that the infamous William Baptiste and Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell is also involved in the cement trade with the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Teddy St. Louis. Now, I am asking Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell if he knows anything about the cement and the cement. What is strange is that you'd expect them to boast about this boat from Africa loaded with cement, right? From Dangote. Like they boast for weeks, months, as a matter of fact, over a year. They were talking about the cricket bats that they got from Dangote. And they went and tell the toddlers that they got these bats from a man who, the richest man in Africa, and who donated these cricket bats to them. But we ain't hear nothing about the cement boat. The cement boat came in quietly and left quietly, right? We ain't hearing nothing about the cement from Dangote. Now, there's a picture on your screen of the boys. And to your immediate right is the Chief of Staff of the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell. That's in the white T-shirt. That's Teddy St. Louis. To his right, in the yellow T-shirt, that's William Baptiste, the infamous William Baptiste. And next to William Baptiste is attorney at law, Trevor St. Bernard. And to his right, in the red and black vest, is Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. And of course, to our immediate left is Mr. Randy Dolan in the black and lilac vest, and he is the project sponsor for Project 500. He is the middleman for the prefab houses in the dump in Carriacou, and he's also the chairman of the board of directors for the Grenada Tourism Authority. So that's the nation builders boys there. Now I want to talk about a council called COTED, the Council for Trade and Economic Development. Now COTED is an organ of CARICOM, and its role and responsibilities are to manage extra-regional imports to protect regional industry. They basically look at items that are produced in the region and seek to protect it from external items that are mass produced and come into CARICOM cheaper, protecting our regional market, all in a context of promoting the CARICOM single market and economy. So this council enforces and provides exemptions for the common external tariff and the rules of origin, which governs how goods from outside of the region enters into CARICOM member states. Now, the common external tariff is a tariff that is paid at customs, and the rules of origin simply means where the goods come from, whether it comes from a CARICOM state or whether it comes from outside of CARICOM. So the question for the cement importers from Nigeria is, because you might know that we have cement being produced in CARICOM. From Trinidad, for example, Guyana is another place, they produce cement. So the question to the cement importers is what? Or the questions are rather, one, whether to what extent the importers from Nigeria are paying the tariff imposed on extra regional items, because the higher the tariff, of course, the higher the tariff is charged on items coming from outside of the region, of course, the more expensive the goods will be. It can't work out to be cheaper. Now, as I understand it, the cement coming from Nigeria is cheaper than the imported cement from CARICOM states. Question 2, whether they went to coated. If it is cheaper, whether they went to coated to ask for permission for a reduction, because that can also happen, or an exemption rather on the external tariff. Because coated also looks at supply and demand to determine if they should allow items to come into CARICOM at a reduced rate. So if we need cement in Grenada and there's not enough produced, or let's forget that Trinidad and Guyana is producing. Let's say we can't find enough cement. So we can go to coated and ask for an exemption, but it's not a permanent thing. It's normally a one-off thing. It don't last forever, right? Now, my investigation led me to a troubling finding that the cement importers needed to apply to coated regardless of having additional tariff to pay or not. That application normally is made through the Ministry of Trade. And no such application, according to my findings, no such application has been made or can be found in the Ministry of Trade. Now, could it be that the politicians intervened and gave some sort of approval to the importers outside of a quoted approval? Now, this is not either or. Quoted approval is needed, as I said, no matter what. That is how it is. The country needs approval from quoted. It's a must. So my investigation has revealed that Grenada is yet to apply to quoted for the necessary permission. And I said Grenada because you see, individual companies cannot apply to quoted. It has to be the country as a whole applying, no matter is Icon, even if it's Hubbard's, whoever is going to bring in the item, you apply as a country, Grenada, for the necessary permission. Individuals do not go to quoted, or individual companies. The application has to come from the country. I have to reiterate that. Who has the petition? The country has to petition for the body, for the company, on behalf of the importers, in other words. The country that has to apply and quoted has seen no such application. These guys are using the states and its resources to network and enrich themselves. And with time running out, these days is rough. I don't know if some of you remember when our prime minister was missing. When he went, he was supposed to go to Rwanda, and he ended up in Nigeria visiting Dangote. That's the first we know of him and Dangote. And Mr. Teddy St. Louis was there with him. When they came back, he held a press conference to give an update as to what happened in Nigeria. That's when we heard about the bats, the kids, the cricket kids. And when he was asked by one of the media personnel what capacity Mr. Teddy St. Louis was with him in Nigeria, in what capacity? That's when he said to us that Teddy St. Louis is his chief of staff. We didn't know that before. We're not sure when it happened, but he automatically became his chief of staff, which means, of course, that the people, the government and people of Grenada, taxpayers, are paying for his trips as chief of staff of the prime minister. And since then, he is traveling like, what they say, American Express, or his handbag. The prime minister's, when you don't leave home without your handbag or your American Express, yeah, he's right there with him in every trip. Dubai, Nigeria, Africa, whichever part of the world. And today, look at the results. Look at the results. The critical part of it, the nepotism. We can't seem to shake it. We can't seem to shake it. And folks, the plot thickens. There's a little kind of melee going on there. According to a male individual from St. Mark, closely affiliated to the National Democratic Movement of Peter David, giving out t-shirts everywhere. Apparently, he's telling people that he is the candidate for St. Mark. We are waiting the launch of candidates for DPM forever, but they're still in the yard. They in the yard. So I guess when they come from the yard, we would know they would launch their candidates. Right now, they're still in the yard. Right now, it is alleged, although it's coming from the individual, that he has been doing business for the company associated to the chief of staff as marketing and sales, kind of some marketing and sales officers, so personnel, right? And was offered allegedly 5% on his sales and was only receiving 2%. So my man decided he gonna take what they owing him and helped himself to what he said was $25,000. He was reported, he was arrested, spent 2 nights or days, or you call it, in the calaboose, as my father used to say, in the cell. And there's a case. However, he's saying he took 25,000, and they're saying he took 80,000. I'm laughing because something in my head I can tell all you. But this was the funniest thing, actually. When I heard it, I had such a good laugh because apparently the gentleman accused is a very good friend of Mr. William Batiste. He has had run-ins on the wrong side of the law several times. And apparently Mr. William Batiste is the one who used to bail him, but they're very close. I'm not sure where the connection came from and what, but quite a while now. They both used to be inside NDC. The gentleman from St. Mark was very close to Mr. David when he was at NDC. He's one of the ones that used to come into the executive meetings to add to the vote whenever he needed a vote on something so he could win. He was one. He used to come in there representing the youth, right? Although he wasn't the president of the youth arm, but he used to come in there representing the youth and to vote. So he and Mr. David went back a long way. Apparently, he and Mr. William Batiste go along and when they're in the same birds of a feather flock together. That's all I'm going to say on that. But there's a court case to come, so we await. And I end by saying, more Mawet. More Mawet. So let's move along. We're not sticking because we always have a packed content. But guys, if you want cement, there would be no shortage in Grenada for a long time. There will be no shortage. And check it out. I understand it's cheaper. So check it out. Go check it out. Don't check it out. Don't let it pass. So we got on our third post cabinet briefing. And since then, there was a fourth. There was one yesterday. So we're doing good. After 3.5 years, steady pace of post-cabinet briefing because there's an election coming up and they don't want to be told that you never spoke to us for 3 years. No, you're coming in our faces, but you would still be told that because we're not fools. We know and understand what's going on, right? And cabinet members present, Minister Lennox Andrew, Minister for Economic Development, Planning, Agriculture and Lands, Forestry, Blue Economy, Marine Resources and Cooperatives. And Minister Andy Williams, Minister for Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, MIT. Now please listen, and listen carefully to Minister Andy Williams' presentation on the OECS Tourism Competitive Project, aka the Fort George Project. Williams, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I want to start by saying good morning to Grenada and good morning to the listening audience. Today I want to start by giving an update on the OECS Tourism Project. And I must say that this project is a major tourism enhancement initiative valued at approximately $8.7 million US. The project was originally scheduled to commence in August of 2017, with the Ministry of Tourism being the implementing agency. In 2022, our Prime Minister requested that the Ministry of MIT be the one to implement the project because of the slow implementation in years gone by. And let me just say to you that this project, it's the structural design and studies was conducted by INES in Spain, who also engaged as the consultants responsible for the supervision works on the project. The contract was signed in November of 2022 between the government of Grenada and a joint venture comprising of Key Chanoa Limited in Trinidad and Sunrise Construction Company Limited in Grenada. The work commenced on the project in January of 2023. And since then, what we have seen the restoration works being done on the fort. The fortification and wall restoration was done by a specialist subcontractor, INSEC from Colombia. The special carpentry works was done by skilled carpenters who are being subcontracted from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, from Grenada, from Trinidad, from Colombia, from Cuba, and St. Lucia. This collaboration reflects strong regional and international technical cooperation. In terms of timeline, the major works on this project, but first of all, this project really and truly is a 6-year project. It's supposed to start in 2016, and the expected date of completion is supposed to be 2023 of April. However, since we started it in 2023, we are now seeing that it is near to completion only just 3.5 years after. So we have done well to beat the timeline in terms of the period from 6 years to 3.5 years. Major works are expected to end by the ending of April, and minor works should be finished or should be finishing by the ending of May. Let me just say that demobilization of contractors is expected to begin at the ending of April. The ministry, when the works is finished, the next stage that we will go to is the Ministry of Tourism and the Grenada Tourism Authority. They start to plan already as to what the space will be used for. So as MIT, we are only getting the space ready so that the Ministry of Tourism and the Grenada Tourism Authority can now use the fort for different things. It can be used as, number one, some of the suggestions, a premier tourist attraction. Number two, a cultural and heritage site. Number three, sustainable income generating asset for the country. This phase will ensure that the investment translates into tangible economic returns, increase visitor engagement, and long-term tourism competitiveness for Grenada. So it's one that we are looking towards, and I must say that when it is finished, I can see it being one of the prestige tourism sites on the island.
Now, I don't understand how the major works finishing before the minor works. That's just by the way. Let's make that make sense. However, according to Minister Andy Williams, the project was valued at approximately 8.7 million USD. Now that's a lie, and he know that's a lie. And you'll hear why that is a lie later on, but that's a lie. The work commenced in January of 2023. That's correct. He said there that it's a 6-year project. He said it was a 6-year project. You heard him, but I have to reiterate it because coming up, we'll hear differently, right? He said it's a 6-year project and that they are way ahead of time because they're looking to finish in 3.5 years' time, which is in April and May of this year, he's saying, right? First of all, he said it's a prestige tourism site. He wanted to teach me, Minister, it's prestigious. The word is prestigious. Tourism site in English, we use the adjectives to describe, right? And prestigious and noun. Prestigious is the adjective. So just a little teaching, by the way. He said he's been a teacher and he's going to teach. Well, now in July 2023, that said, Minister for MIT, Andy Williams, at a town hall in New York, proudly announced the Fort George project as one specially given to him by the Prime Minister. Back then, according to the minister, they received 6 million US dollars, which is approximately 16 million EC dollars. 16, I think, 0.2 million EC dollars. And not 20 million EC dollars, as he said there. And he knows that is 6 million US dollars they got from the World Bank. He knows. But I don't know. Well, I know why he's trying to say is more, because they spend so much money. Money's after the World Bank money finished. But we're going to get to that as well. So let's take it step by step, right? So they got 6 million US dollars, and that was said in the New York, in the New York um, town hall meeting. According to the minister, at that meeting, the delivery time was 8 months. Today, he's telling us that the delivery time was 6 years. Now, he didn't say, okay, was 10 months or a year. You went from 8 months to 6 years, and say now that they're ahead of time in delivering the project because they're going to deliver in 3.5 years. Folks, these people really take us for fools. But I'll tell you what, that the clip, if you want to call it that, the video of that town hall meeting was removed. It was removed. They pull it down. But of course, you know how it goes. We got it. It's safe and secured. Safe and secured. We have them all. Right? So all you could pull down. Start pulling down. Right? So here think we forget. You know, I wonder, and I said it before, how the people that were sitting at that town hall meeting, who looked as persons with a little bit of brains, who looked at persons that are young professionals and older ones, and so how they feel about that town hall, because nothing, absolutely nothing said in that town hall was true, or if they put forward something, did it come true? Absolutely nothing in a whole town hall meeting in New York, right? And then people clapping and yaying and looking back and turning around because they're so impressed. One young lady that I know, shaking her head, Oh, so we went from 8 months to 6 years. Then there was a story he gave in New York about someone from the NNP camp who owned a tower erected at Fort George that told him, let me tell you something, and I'm quoting here, that project cannot be, that project cannot get going. And that's the reason why we never touched it. No, that's a lie. Because I spoke to the individual who had the tow up there and he had no such conversation. But not only that, there are records to show that NNP administration started, did preliminary works, what needed to be done on that project. So how would he tell him we're not touching the project when there were preliminary works done? Now, if you speak in the truth, why are you afraid to call the gentleman's name? Said I spoke to Mr. Alvin W. He had the tower up there on the fort, and he said to me, but when you're lying, you can't call names. You see how I could say Andy Williams took the bribe? Because it's a fact. It's the truth. Andy Williams took $115,000 bribe in exchange for the contract. I could say that clearly. I could talk about the pickup van, the number, the color, and everything. That the $15,000 was spent on for renovations, right? So I questioned Mr. Dabrio, and there was no such conversation, right? So as I was saying, if you're proud and you're speaking the truth and you speak to this man high up in NMP anything, call his name. Because I calling yours. And I could say here that your white pickup Isuzu truck T4254, which belong to you or belonged, I don't know if you seem like you get rid of it since you get the new Saltfish truck, right? And so I could say here that you own the truck and $15,000 was spent in the bribe money to refurbish the truck, and 100,000 you got in hand. Yes, you, Minister Andy Williams. At that said town hall meeting in New York, Minister Andy Williams said the project started in January of 2023, and by July, at the town hall meeting, he said the project was already 66% in implementation. In July, the project started in January 2023. In July of 2023, the project was 66%. Even in the Parliament of Grenada, Prime Minister Dick Mitchell boasted and congratulated Minister Andy Williams and mentioned the project was already 66% in implementation. Years later, the project ain't finished yet, right? So if you go by what he said there, 8 months, the project. So the project was supposed to be completed in September of 2023. We're in 2026, and the minister is telling us that the project is ahead of time. Whose time is that? Which time is that? Where is that kind of time in the world? Today, the project is yet to be completed. In July of 2023, the project was 66% in implementation. And you're ahead of time. And the project's supposed to take 6 years. It's the first we're hearing about this 6 years. After 6 months, the project was 66% completed. It took 3 years plus to do the next 34%? In a few months, let's count. So from January to February to March to April to May to June to July, 6 months. It took 6 months for 66%, right? And it takes 3 years to do 34%. A liar has no memory. But if all you think I lie, I can understand why you might want to think so, because this thing in song real, right? This thing song as kukute. It's in song real. So if y'all think, hey, might be lying, because the vast difference in the stories, some individuals might just think, nah, man, nah, she exaggerated. But it's not me. I have the tape, and the tape don't lie.
Let me make another point again. There's a Fort George project, an OECS tourism project. That project, over 5 years, had 0% implementation. What is a Fort George project? It's a project where we make Fort George into a tourism site. Basically, what it is now is a police headquarters. And since August 2017, we got $6 million US, approximately 20 million EC dollars, to convert that site into a tourism site. What happened again? Same thing. The Prime Minister, when he came into office, he gave that project to MIT and said, MIT, I want you to deliver on this. And we had approximately 8 months to deliver on that project. What we did, we started. And when we started, I brought all parties into play. Cable and Wireless, Digicel, Police Headquarters, NTRC, the Ministry of Tourism, everyone. And there was someone from the NMP camp who owned one of the towers on Fort George. And he said to me, he said, let me tell you something. The reason that project cannot get going. And that's the reason why we never touched it. But I said to him, if my Prime Minister gave me a task, it has to be completed. So we have to find a way to do it. What happened? In January 2023, we started that project. That project now is approximately 66% in implementation. And we are on our way to make Fort George a tourism site. That site, when it is completed, that site will have a restaurant, a museum, a courtyard, a place where you can sit down and see the nice scenery, bars, just name it. And the site is such a beautiful site. You have tunnels and so where tourists can come and enjoy the Fort George. And this is what we are about. We are about getting things done and making things happen.
Now, you heard it there. Everything I told you, you heard it in the tape, right? Where facts come first. Now, will Mr. Alvin Dabru tell Andy Williams that the project can't be done? And that's why the former administration didn't touch it. When preliminary works had already begun when NDC took office in 2022, tendering had already took place. And in fact, one of the contractors used by Handy was one of the ones who won the bid the first time the tendering was done. Because in my understanding, more than one tendering was done. Just another lie, like the ones put out. They have these ones that say that the opposition was against the increase of the minimum wage. I mean, which party would be against? Which administration, which person, which individual grouping would be against an increase in minimum wage. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. The issue was the 150 percent increase, the 200% increase that they were warned about that would affect the economy, that employers would send home workers because they would not be able to afford, because there's no cash flow in this country at the moment, and that they wouldn't be able. Since then, it's gotten worse. And so employers that cannot afford to keep 2 and 3 staff would send them 2 and keep 1. Even the central government is having trouble keeping up with their new minimum wage increase. The low income earners, cooks, gardeners, cleaners, they have not received that increase as yet. And some of the ones who receive the increase, they are the ones who are not receiving salaries on time, not receiving salaries for months. They are the ones that are suffering. They forgot that they already had a huge wage bill and could barely afford it. So it wasn't about not supporting, but they like to throw these things out there. Where it's stick, it stick. Where it's stick, it stick. Show the tape. Show the tape and tell us, show us which member of the opposition, where they said it, when they said it. Show us the tape. They can't show you because there's no such tape. All lies. Just call a name. Call a name and say which minister, which caretaker, not minister, but member of parliament, sorry, you have said that, or whoever involved with the LMP that you heard say it. Call their name. Don't be afraid. All lies. All lies. There are a number of government paid low income earners who are yet to receive that increase. As usual, the hallmark of this NDC Mitchell-led administration is no proper planning. You don't just get up today and say you've given people increase 200%, which we would love for it to happen, but the resources do not allow you to do that, your resources. And we know that. And we know that. So these days, it's a glitch. They change the system and there's a glitch. You have a glitch for 3-4 months. You have a glitch. Nobody's working. Who's fixing the glitch? 3-4 months, you're telling work the poor people, and it's the ones that always suffer. The vulnerable ones, the low income earners, that there was a glitch. These people have families to feed. And you can't fix your glitch. Pay the people while you're fixing your glitch. You can't just have them there hanging for 4 months unpaid. Likewise, the bi-monthly wage payment system. They said they wasn't for it. It wasn't about for it. It was about because of our system, our payment system, our bill system, that the end of month thing was working out pretty good. You say you do bi-monthly. When the 15 come, a number of workers, your workers again, can't receive their salaries. And you say, okay, we can pay you everything at the end of the month. Same thing that was happening if you pay them at the end of the month and done. At the end of the month, sometimes they're still in getting it at the end of the month. Because why? You don't have the money. So because of the way our revenue collections are, is because the 15th thing, y'all can keep up with it. Because by the 15th, by the time you pay end of month, you have to look to get monies to pay by the 15th again. And that's all that they were saying. Right? No, but we're doing it, we're ticking boxes. Tick. They say we couldn't do that, tick. And now all fall down because you didn't think there wasn't proper planning put into anything. It was just a show off. Young, bright lawyer come and he could do thing, he doing thing. So everybody excited, yes, and we ticking the boxes as we going on. All that we saying we doing in our manifesto, we ticking it. Cares about your manifesto? What we care about is the lives and livelihoods of our people. So whether you tick your box in your manifesto or not, we are still out here suffering. There's no cash flow. It's obvious the government is broke. All fall down with our infrastructure. So tick boxes. Go ahead and tick your boxes. While we out here catching water. Oh my God. Issues from the very beginning. Issues from the very beginning. Nothing runs smoothly. So back to Handy and his Fort George project. This OECS Tourism Competitive Project, aka the Fort George Project, you see, all of a sudden, he used to call it the Fort George Project. You heard him in New York, it was the Fort George Project. He come in, he post cabinet briefing, the OECS Tourism Competitive Project. All to make us think it's a different project, is the same Fort George Project. Now, this project did not only involve Grenada, it involved St. Vincent and the Grenadines and St. Lucia. It also included a component called the ferry services. So all of that was supposed to happen. I ain't hearing no word of the ferry services for Grenada. Now, in case of Grenada, for the restoration of the Fort George, it was indeed 6 million USD. Now, according to the audit report, the auditors did highlight, and I would put up a copy of the audit on the channel. It's too much to read and go through here. But so it'll be up there. You can go through for yourself and see the facts for yourself. The auditors did highlight that the last report they got on the project was in February of 2022. Now I'll have you remember, lest you forget, the date of the national election was June of 2022, right? The auditors said the last report they got on the project was February of 2022. How it is, the former administration or the man inside the NNP, high up inside the NNP, told Handy that they won't touch the project. They would not, the reason why they wouldn't touch the project, right? But the auditors have financial reports for 2022, February of 2022, as the last report again. Andy, where are your reports? Where is this administration financial reports? 23, 24, 25, 26, February. So that is February 2023 to 24 to 25 to 26. 3 years and counting. Where are your reports? Since you could touch it and you said, since your prime minister gave you what to do, you got to get it done. I bet you ain't saying that now. Hmm? I know you ain't saying that kind of thing now about your prime minister. Right? Now, according to Line Andy and his line administration, the NNP did nothing. They did nothing. Yet they had financials and they were audited. Right? There was financial report from the former administration. This so-called transformation administration is yet to present a financial report from 4 years ago to date. As I said, you look, you would see, you can go through the audit report yourself. This report was done in 2025 for 2024. So this Deacon Mitchell-led administration has not submitted no financial for the Fort George project as yet. Nothing, nil, zilch. So as I said earlier, on the project cost, 6 million USD, that is 16.2 million EC dollars. Don't know how it reached the 20 million. According to Andy, it's approximately 20 million. Far from. To date, the project have cost the people of Grenada 20 million. Oh, that's probably why he's saying 20 million. 20 million 417,397 dollars. A significant cost overrun, and the project ain't done yet. But are we surprised? How is it a project way ahead of time, according to Minister Andy Williams, end up with such a significant cost overrun? If you're way ahead of time, you're supposed to be saving. No? Now, here are the estimates spent. The previous administration, the NMP administration, between 2021 and 2022, they spent $1.6 million out of the $16.2 million, right? In 2023, this NDC administration spent $353,282. In 2024, they spent $8,130,797. In 2025, they spent $3,333,318. So in a total, the project cost thus far, because it's not yet completed, $20,417,397. Therefore, since the project overrun, the World Bank's loan of 16.2 million EC dollars, that spent out. And so now the project is being carried locally by finances from central government. So we're in trouble because central government broke. As you heard, the minister proudly said the project was given to him and his MIT ministry, who have no expertise for such a project. Secondly, a project like that could have positively impacted our NULO and TAMCC students who are into construction or restoration by creating a cadre of skilled workers in stone, mason, and restoration work. But no, the young people we talk about, and Grenada and have no skills, and you get Cuba, Colombia, St. Vincent, everywhere in the world, they have persons working on that project. And we have our young workers, or students, if you want to call them that, from TAMCC and NULO, who could have get in on that type of work. Of course, being overlooked, being overseen by the foreman or whoever is in charge, right? Workers from all around the world. Added to no expertise in MIT, there has been a failure to put certain systems in place, like a local technical committee. Now, where we need local technical committees, we're not getting. There are technical committees all over for every little thing. But there was not a technical committee put together for the Fort George project. Well, what Handy know about that? Hmm? There was no overall project concept. Another failure. And there is uncertainty about the sustainability of the project, which is loaded with management issues. But we're not surprised. That's all about Handy. Handy is make as if you're bumping all over the place, pretending, and nothing is getting done. I asked on this program already. Just inbox me, put it in the comments. Tell me what came out of the Ministry of Immobilization, Implementation, and Transformation thus far that we are proud of, that we can say, yes, there was a reason for that ministry. Anybody, anything, please, I beg it. Tell me just one. Just one, if anybody has it. Let me know. Besides planting buttercup and exoras and painting the curbs in black and white. Please. Now, according to the minister, his job is to get the restoration done and then release the project to the more than likely the Ministry of Tourism or the Grenada Tourism Authority. Let me get that correct. So the GTA, the final authority, is that's what he said, right? Has the site been vested in the GTA? Is that, well, they don't do anything legal. So let me not ask about the legal, part of it. They don't do anything legal. But as I talk about tourism, all you see the sign, the big announcement that the Minister of Tourism was honored in Germany. A whole batch of them went down to Germany for his honoring as the best Minister for Tourism in the region. Since NDC came into office, well, more when this minister, Adrian Thomas, became minister, our revenues in tourism have dropped. And that is according to their report from the Ministry of Finance. Even the IMF mentioned that our tourism has dropped. I'm going to bring the facts. I can't really, do that today because we dealing with Handy and the project here. So, but what is funny is the same day they post his achievement, there is a video from the Minister of Tourism from St. Vincent who said he was offered the best Minister of Tourism and he turned it down because he was only there a few weeks, as a matter of fact, and he had to pay for it. They were asking him for $50,000 to pay for the certification, for the award. I say no more. I say no more. Right? Let's move on. My investigation suggests that it's really a two-man show. Mr. Oliver Benoit, who is heading some committee, is running his own show, and he reports only to the Minister of MIT, Handy Williams. The other people on the committee, they don't really exist. They have no input. I've also learned that over 1 year now, the project manager is on a month-to-month basis paid by the government of Grenada. Changes are made ad hocly, changes that have never been agreed on holistically. There is no management structure in place. Not surprised. That MIT ministry is a curse on this country, is a curse on this government, is a curse on the cabinet of Grenada, that MIT ministry. And we wonder why we are paying, the people have to pay extra money to run that ministry when you could give Handy a desk to sit down in any other ministry and do what he's doing, running around. But what that ministry, the only thing that ministry had done is to help enrich themselves. Imagine the ministry have its own bank account, its own checkbook, when the Minister of Finance says it's illegal. And only the Ministry of Finance supposed to dabble in monies and pay out checks. They had their own checkbook, they had their own bank account. It was online banking until one of the workers who wasn't supposed to see the movement of the monies from the ministry to private accounts saw it and got fired. So that's the only thing we know. So maybe that was the reason of it in the first place, right? The architectural integrity of the fort is already compromised due to some changes made, including the use of material, some imported from the Far East. There is worry about the layout of the project now, since all the ad hoc changes cause problem with space. Space, especially in the income generating sector, like the restaurant. Since the monies from the World Bank was a loan, they have to be paid back. So you have to generate income, right? They have to pay back that loan. The restaurant area is way too small. The entrance was not approved, but it's going to be done unapproved. There are so much more that I can tell you from my investigation. Bottom line, the project is riddled with issues. I wonder what percentage of implementation we are at now. Maybe we gone back below 66. As I am on the fort, which brings back awful memories, is it true the place in Calavini where Maurice and his colleagues and friends, their bodies were burnt? Prime Minister, was that property sold to a private individual who has since built a house on there? Just a question, by the way. Folks, the Fort George project is another failed project of the Deacon Mitchell-led administration, another project of the former administration. They met there, started, or continued rather, and stopped. More lies, more bubble, more mama guy. Now let me share with you some of the other pronouncements and utterances made by our so-called Minister of Mobilization, Implementation, and Transformation at that infamous town hall meeting in July of 2023. Project Polaris. Now you see how they just throw things out there, fling it out there and make us if it's factual and it's the truth. Where did he get the data from that told him that SGU is one of the best university in the world? That is not factual and that is not true. Where did he get that from? You gone out there telling them people. And another thing, this 89 acres of land that they bought, Baldwin they put in Health Village, that was a waste of our resources, our monies. There's no need for this 89 acres of land. All we need is a new hospital. Now you're there fighting to get loan and for people to and donations to build this village. What we need is a new hospital, period. But in the meantime, we have to deal with what we have to save lives. A new teaching hospital, he said, is the dream of and the vision of Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. That's a lie. If anything, that was Tillman Thomas and the NDC of 2008 to 2013. That was their dream in their achievement booklet. something that you probably don't know about because you know you're a Johnny come latelys. On the health, quickly, it reads, entered into a groundbreaking agreement with the St. George's University. You just said it's a shame we have the SGU there and do nothing about it. The best, one of the best in the world. They were engaged by the former NDC administration, right? Entered into a groundbreaking agreement with St. George's University, agreed on public private partnership, the PPP talking about it, public private partnership, partner for a new 184-bed general hospital with clinical teaching facility estimated to cost us 67 million EC dollars on the same piece of land, not the 89, all of the land. That same piece there is where they were going to put the teaching hospital, just on whatever, how much acres, not 89. And here they told us how much it would cost. We are still waiting on how much the port project Polaris is going to cost us. They say they're breaking ground on the 27th. Let's see. They might tell us then, right? So it's not a dream of Deacon Mitchell. No, it's not. It's not. Question for the minister and his administration. Where are we with the implementation of the National Health Insurance, the NHI, that you just spoke about? In January of 2025, the government of Grenada, the Deacon Mitchell-led administration, broke contract with JIPA Network, who was hired by the former administration, the NMP administration, in 2020, after 5 years of work. Because when they came in, they didn't get rid of them immediately. After 5 years of work, put into the National Health Insurance Program, they fired the company, JIPA Network, for no apparent reason. Maybe because they were broke. From resuming office in 2018, the NMP started on the National Health Insurance. It was a work in progress for the former administration led by Dr. Keith Mitchell. In 2020, a contract was signed with JIPA Network, a company out of Florida owned and operated by Grenadians. The Ned brothers, the CEO, Dr. Kester Ned, they were hired to see the NHI process through and bring a long-awaited relief to the people of Grenada, especially the ordinary man, to be able to afford health care in Grenada. But the Deacon Mitchell-led administration, after 5 years, put an end to that when they terminated JIPA's contract. And today, 1 year later, this is what the Prime Minister had to say on the National Health Insurance.
What is the current progress on implementing the National Health Insurance NHI? Additionally, when will the Ministry of Finance building be renovated so employees can return, helping to reduce government spending on rental properties?
All right, so I'll take the National Health Insurance question first. We are still very much in the design and concept stage of treating with the National Health Insurance, so I can't give a definitive date of when it will be implemented because you'd have to design, you will then have to consult, we will then have to pass legislation, we'll then have to agree on how it is to be funded, and we'll have to agree on what services are to be covered. We are working with a timeline in light of Project Polaris because we want to be in a position where the National Health Insurance can start by the time the new hospital comes online, because we want to be able to fund some of the services that the public will be able to access at the hospital via the National Health Insurance scheme. So that is where we are.
After 5 years of work, the Prime Minister talking about design? We stupid or what? Huh? Is the National Health Insurance a part of the new model? Design what? Finance, design, build, and maintain. Is that because to talk about all babble about you can't give a term because we have to design and we have to hogwash, all of that is taken care of already. But to make us believe that you're now starting and you realize the National Health Insurance is all about Project Polaris. It have nothing to do with the ordinary man and the General Hospital and the Princess Alice Hospital and the Princess. It have nothing to do with that, where our poor people have to go. It has to do, they want to finish it in time for Project Polaris. So some of us going to be dead before NHI and Princess and Project Polaris reach to us. So what are we supposed to do? Just curl up and die? Our lives don't matter? Come on. What happened to putting people first? We just have to sit down and wait on Project Polaris. Listen to the health minister on the National Health Insurance.
NHI. Spend a little time on that, just a few minutes. So we have engaged the Dr. Theodore from the retired professor from UWI to assist us, as well as the National Insurance Board, with the view of having the NIB work alongside our colleagues from the University of the West Indies to develop NHI for the benefit of the people of Grenada. I will give you some information on that. Right. So we will, as part of the work, we will have to set up a committee that looks at the implementation of national health insurance. So we are going to coordinate and develop the legislative framework around the implementation of NHI. And again, NHI is not a very simple baby. It is a fairly complex matter. However, we are tapping into the available expertise that are available to help us to develop a framework that works for us here locally. Also, the consideration of the financing framework. How do we finance NHI? How do we finance it? So we're going to be looking very closely at that. Then the public education aspect, national public education drive for us to understand why and how. Why NHI and how it's to be implemented. So that's going to happen. And also the technical support is going to be part of that. So we are going to set a board in place for that purpose to monitor and evaluate the provision of policy, guidance, and direction. We are also going to have a technical advisory group that is going to be advising on the how we implement the NHI. And also we're going to have a tripartite group which is going to look at how we approve the entire process of that. So these are schematics. Hopefully in a not too distant future, we'll be able to supply most of this to Cabinet for consideration and subsequent approval. I'll just tell you some of the things that we've been looking at. So we are going to have a secretariat with a project lead or project head that is going to be heading that, a communication specialist to treat with, similarly as we've done under the statutorization, that will treat with all of the consultation and public education and so on. And of course, a secretary to handle most of the work. So we have, I think it's about 6 or 7 key deliverables that we will seek to deliver. The design specification of the NHI, what it's going to look like, what the final product is going to look like, how it's going to be affecting the people, what kind of benefits will come to us, and how are we going to claim and all of that. So also the organizational chart, how the governance structure is going to be handled. A feasibility study on the NHI is also going to be undertaken to ensure that whatever is going to be delivered is fit for purpose and can be afforded. And also the macroeconomic review. We've done one already, so we have to do a revision of that to ensure that the macroeconomics still applies in the context and that the change we are able to cope with and finance. Drafting of the legislation, the policy document and legislation, and also the technical support for the implementation and the carrying on, especially during the transition stage. So we're going to have that as part of the deliverables. And yeah. So in a nutshell, that's what it's going to be for that.
Well, that is certainly not a nutshell. I don't know what shell that was, but not a nutshell. But what it is stalling. It's called stalling. They are stalling. So they've gone back with all about feasibility study and designs. All these things were taken care of already. They are stalling because they cannot produce. They are stalling. Needless to say, one man's loss is another man's gain. The government and people of the Republic of Guyana wasted no time in engaging JIPA Network, who is now working along with them on their NHI. We move to Grenadian style housing.
I spoke about the Chinese housing at the beginning, but we want to do some Grenadian style housing in the future. And when I say in the future, I mean starting next year. So we have a project called Project 500, and that project is being led by the Honorable Minister of Social Development, Philip Telesford. We have already identified lands in Beautification and other places. And the next step is to get developers to come, get local contractors to come, get the banks involved. And we're going to do a project called Project 500, where we are going to build 500 Grenadian-style housing. And when we do that, we are not going to stop there. We are not going to stop there. We are going to continue, and next 500, and next 500, and next 500, until we solve the housing situation in Grenada.
That one got a woo! Because that's so good, eh? My question to the minister is, where are these houses? And another 500, and another 500, and another 500. Up till now, we have not one Project 500 house. Not one. You hear me? And he talked about Beautification. The first time I'm hearing Beautification was then. We never heard of Bush issue. But this is what the Prime Minister had to say about Project 500 during the campaign.
Let's talk about the state of our housing and the lack of affordable housing for our people, particularly our young people, particularly some of our elder citizens who have no place to stay. There are two ladies who may think I've forgotten them. I haven't forgotten you. In the last 24 to 48 hours, I've been bombarded with requests for help from women who have children who either have no place to stay or about to be put on the street because they have no place to stay. Since 1985, we have not had any systematic plan to provide affordable housing for our people. All we've had is some apartment buildings that have been provided generously by the people and government of China. But these houses or apartments have been handed over to the government of Grenada. And up to now, in St. David's, for example, they have not distributed the houses to the citizens of St. David. Up to now, you can't even walk in the compound because they have security guarding the empty buildings. If you cared about your people, if you appreciated that housing is a fundamental and basic right, there would have been a transparent process. We would have gone to the communities and find the people who are most vulnerable, and we would have known what the criteria is for getting the houses. But let me tell the woman in St. David, you have to take no formal lumber under the National Democratic Congress to get your house. So when the National Democratic Congress implements its housing plan, and I'm going to tell you about it, within 12 months of forming the government, the National Democratic Congress will start a nationwide housing program. That program will be done in conjunction with the private sector, so we will have a public-private partnership. And we will commence building 500 Grenadian-style homes in each parish. And we will do so each year thereafter, so that our citizens of Grenada can live in affordable housing, not apartments, with their front yard or their backyard that they can improve in their own image, shape, and likeness over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So that when you retire, you can pass on a part of Grenada to your children and to your grandchildren, and you could say to them, that was the vision of the National Democratic Congress.
So we're still waiting on these Grenadian-style houses with front yard, backyard, swimming pool. So thank God for the apartments that you talk about in a derogatory way. All we ever get was some apartments. Yes, thank God for them. But that's the same apartment you all turn around and selling. And the poor and low income earners cannot afford to own one of these apartments. The ones only give them their own protagonist, and you can tell them it's a vision. Wait, vision. Where are they? Where are they to talk about? We can't see them. You almost at the end of the race, and not one. So cutting style on the Chinese thing, and you talk about they lock up and there's security watching. If you did follow that, we would not have been where we are today with the agro-processing plant in Lakalom that you all left unsecured, that was vandalized and looted, a waste of our resources again. So you see the reason why there was security, paid security. And not only that, now you all have security like fish cakes selling by the side of the road. We have security securing security. So you could give your boys and your girls jobs, eat a food. And yet still, you all left that place to be vandalized and looted. So there was a reason why it was secured. And after he talked about it not being given to the people after 1 year, it took them 2 years, After that, when they came in office, to end up selling them for 75,000 and 55 or whatever, selling them so that poor people cannot afford to get a place to stay. Then on entering office, Deacon Mitchell, the Minister of Finance at the time, gave us an estimate for the first 500 houses of $2.5 million to be built in Stony Gut, not Bushes, Stony Gut, St. John.
Commitment to affordable housing. Our commitment in this term, Mr. Speaker, is to deliver 500 high-quality, climate-resilient Grenadian-style houses. Two major initiatives in this budget cycle include: one, the Stony Gut Climate Resilient Housing Development Pilot Project, which aims to construct modern, high-quality, climate-resilient Grenadian-style homes in Stony Gut in the parish of St. John. Construction is expected to start in 2023, Mr. Speaker, and $2.5 million has been budgeted. Mr. Speaker, government will identify and secure lands in all parishes to roll out these houses. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, we have allocated $2.4 million to retrofit and upgrade the affordable houses that have been graciously donated by the People's Republic of China. We commit to the allocation of the 647 units no later than June of 2023. Mr. Speaker.
They think it's easy, so, Mount Openwood Jumbo, lands in each parish. What about the logistics? You had to do roads, you had to bring electricity, water, cable, what about that? And that's why you see they're gonna jam up the former administration done fumbling project because all of these things are already sorted, right? That's why they gone up and down fumbling. That's why they gone up there. They're jamming now out there because the logistics done already, it's easier for them to try and start. And up to now, they can't start. Up to now. Moving on. The Visible Transformation Project. Let's hear our boy on this. That's his project, eh?
Also, Grenada is a beautiful place. Beautiful. Sometimes we travel to the Bahamas and so on, we see all Miami and we see all the beautiful palm trees and so everything nice. And when you come back to Grenada, we have beauty and we are not making use of it. So my ministry have a project called the Visible Transformation Project. And that project is where we look to beautify Grenada. When you go to Grenada, you will see all old vehicles by the side of the road. Sometimes a fire truck want to come out of fire, no space to pass because vehicles are just blocking up the space. We have started collecting the derelict vehicles already. We have started collecting derelict boats. We are in a process right now of cleaning up the water because sometimes you have yachties come into Grenada and settle outside and dump all the waste in the water, destroying our coral reef. We have already started to beautify the Wall Street area. We have already started to beautify the Lagoon Road. And as I speak right now, we have a crew in St. George's that are beautifying the St. George's area.
We need a count on the derelict vehicles. We need a count of how many was picked up, how many derelict vehicles was picked up. He planted, no, you see, it's like a kid in a candy store. He travel and he see palm trees, he come back, we must plant palm trees. He planted some palm trees and the lagoon all died. he, why Bahamas and Miami could have these things and we don't have, and that's the problem. That's the problem right there. You're grudging and you're watching other people saying, let's take our time and do what we can with what we have. Right? Question: how many derelict vehicles was removed and sent or sold to Trinidad and Tobago? What happened to the monies raised, whatever little, because some was sent? Was the money deposited into the consolidated fund or into the pocket of the minister responsible? Question. Asking for the people. Now, the beautification of Wall Street. They planted pumpkin on the Secleda spot, does not belong to the government of Grenada. Private property, went on there without the permission and planted a set of pumpkin. The whole place before we turned around was covered in pumpkin vines. The owner fenced their place, little wire thing, and put up the sign, no trespassing. Because these guys don't know what they're doing. They just say, get up in the morning and he figure we must beautify because he see beautification when he travel. So he managed to plant some buttercup and exoras and paint the curbs. And that was all that was done on Wall Street. Beautifying Wall Street. I didn't even want to, he did that by the bus stop. Wall Street is as it was, and sometimes you could even say it's worth. Right? Then he spoke about, well, let's not talk about the lagoon. Right? He said, then, as we spoke, there was a crew in the town of St. George, beautifying St. George's. Anybody saw that crew? Let me know. That was since 2023. Look at the town of St. George. Needs an uplift. The tunnel, I spoke about it already, needs to be renovated, uplifted. The tunnel is in a mess. The sender tunnel needs attention. Right? So all that day was old talk. All of it was old talk. They clapping, they happy. I feel sorry, I feel sorry because that is bare deception. Bare deception. Rest assured that Grenada is in safe hands.
But I tell you people, rest assured that Grenada is in good hands. Our Prime Minister is one of the smartest individuals I've ever met. He's cool, calm, and collected. He has a plan, he has a vision. And our job in Cabinet is to support him so that we can reach the level that Grenada needs to reach. So I just want to say, hold on tight. We need your support in the diaspora, and we need every Grenadian support. I tell people every day, the time for foreplay in politics is over. Grenada belongs to all of us, and we have to join in to help build our country.
I know he ain't saying that being believed that the Prime Minister is the smartest man, cool, calm, and collective. He believe that no more, not at all. In the question and answer segment, the question was asked, what is being done for Grenville?
For people of Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique. I do not have a question, I have a concern. Everything sounds nice. I want to know about Grenville. Grenville is like a shanty town. My concern is what has been done for Grenville in terms of beautification. That's it. Thank you.
So, So for Grenville, the same things apply with the derelict vehicles. The cleanup, we have done a cleanup in Grenville already, and we are still continuing to deal with the derelict vehicles in Grenville. The 4 MPs for Grenville, or the 4 caretakers for Grenville, well, St. Andrews, sorry, right. they have a plan. Part of the plan will be to take back some of the lands and to backfill and to put some areas for recreation in Grenville. But we also have a bigger problem in Grenville, and we have done a study because every time rain falls, Grenville flood. It was said the problem was fixed, but it only became worse, right? So part of the problem will be, part of the solution will be to install pumps certain places so that the water can be pumped out and not just stay and flood the area. But also, let me just mention that when you go to Grenada, you see your mangoes, your golden apples, your fruits on the ground spoiling. But if you look back in the days of the great Moise Bishop, there was a time when we had factories and we were doing our pulps and juices and so. But that was in the 80s. 40 years passed. And it's like we regress instead of progress. So one of our plan is to bring back agro-processing in Grenada. And I am not just saying it. Anyone could say anything, but you need to back it up. So when I went to India 2 months ago, I met with the Indian government, and they pledged to give Grenada $1 million in equipment, any equipment we want, to start our factories. Now, we have better news. When I go back to Grenada, the delegation will be visiting Grenada, and they said, Andy, that 1 million is now 2 million. So we have a chance to really push agro-processing in Grenada. And our dream is not to have it in St. George's, because everything is centered in St. George's. But we have to start promoting the urban to rural migration. And if we can have factories in the north and in the middle of the island, what it means is that infrastructure can be improved, housing can be improved, and everyone does not have to run to St. George's for a job. But we can have the rural areas being developed, and this is what we want. Now again, we have a case right now in Grenada where the ABC Islands are looking for products to import. And they have engaged Grenada, they have engaged the Ministry of Agriculture, and we are now working with them. So now we have a chance to export our product. But why do we need factories? Because we can add value to the product and get more from it. Also, when you travel to the diaspora, you have London, you have Canada, you have New York. Do you know in the diaspora, you have twice as much Grenadians living in the diaspora than in Grenada? So why are we not exporting our products to the diaspora? Let you, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and PD Martinique, consume it. This is what we have to do. This is what you call transformation. And I will tell you, give us 2 years. Just give us 2 years. And you will see a difference in Grenada. And it is not just talk. It's not just poor and vulnerable. But it's about moving Grenada from one stage to the other. And this is what we want to do.
We did move from one stage to the other, but down. We're going down, lower and lower and lower. Now the pumps, Minister, where you have these pumps in Grenville. But in the south, your great south that you always speak of, before it drizzle, Monroe stretch on both sides, floods. So I think you could use some of the pumps in Monroe. I mean, I know how to tell you that. If you have a pump system working in Grenville, then in your own constituency, you need pumps. Use the pumps. Get us some pumps in the south, right? Have you guys ever seen derelict vehicles in Grenville? What is he talking about removing the derelict vehicles in Grenville. There are no derelict vehicles in Grenville. And where are the agro-processing plants you speak of, Minister, to use up the fruits and the vegetables? Where are the agro-processing plants? And what business has Grenada going on with the ABC Islands? You know, some of the young people might want an ABC Island because you don't even hear about the ABC Islands anymore, right? I think I learned that in primary school, the ABC Islands. What shipping? What are we shipping to the ABC Islands? Please. Because right now, we are importing everything under the sun. So for those of you who don't know, the ABC Islands are Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. What is Grenada shipping to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao? What are we exporting to these islands? What we need for ourselves? We now import everything under the sun when it comes to fruit, vegetables, and ground provisions. And the only minister to ever mention anything about the ABC Island was Minister Handy in New York. And we never heard anything about the ABC Islands anymore. And our exporting to the ABC Islands. I mean, why would you do that? He's so dishonest. Even in what he speaks, he can't help himself. Lying to the people and have them lapping away instead of bringing the truth to them. We have a food crisis here in Grenada. We are importing everything. God help us if this war continues. God help us. Involvement from foreign countries.
Hi, good afternoon. I just have a quick question. You talked about involvement from foreign countries such as India and China, and you spoke about a lot of numbers in terms of funds that they're giving us. Only one, if I'm not mistaken, is in terms of grants. So I want to know, what's the catch? What are we giving these countries in return for all of this capital that they're giving us? Because we don't want Nigeria, we don't want things where we're selling off our island in order to build it up. I think that holding the integrity of what Grenada is and who Grenada is really important to me as a child of Grenadians and someone who values her Grenadian heritage. So what's the catch? Like, what are we giving these foreign nations in exchange for all of this money that they're giving us?
Now, Lord, you can go down one, Junior? Oh, okay. So, I can tell you about India. St. Vincent already got the grant from India. Suriname already got the grant from India. Now, when I travel, when I leave here, I'm going to South Korea. In about 10 minutes, I'll have to leave to go. Now, when I travel, I don't travel empty-handed. I travel with some concepts and some concepts of what we will need in Grenada. So when the meetings are finished, I will sit down with the Minister of Trade and say, hey, we will need XYZ in Grenada. What can you give, if possible? And there are grant funding outside. The UK give us grant to fix our infrastructure and to fix the road system. Grant we don't have to pay back. China gave us a grant for housing that we don't have to pay back. As far as I know, there is no catch. The grants are available or were available in India just to access, and no one in Grenada was doing it. But I saw it and I accessed it, right? So to say that what we have to give back, as far as I know, there's nothing we have to give back. And also, you have a lot of grants outside, especially in the area of climate change. Because what happens is that the developed world, they do all the polluting to cause the climate change. But we are the one in the Caribbean and so that face the lasting or get the lasting effects of it. And there's a lot of grants in climate change. But you have to focus, you have to know where they are, and you have to get them to improve your country. If you go to...
We don't want to become a Nigeria? Ma'am, I suggest you put that question to Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. He travels with some concepts. Where you put it? You carry it in your carry-on or in your luggage? Where do you carry these concepts? He said, and after the conferences, he'd say, hey, we need X, Y, and Z in Grenada. What can you give? That's probably why we are getting nothing. Kukute. And that was when he announced that he got a call from India offering him an additional $1 million US. Hey, Andy, that 1 million is now 2 million US dollars. Who does that? Who does business like that? Not even ordinary men one-on-one, much less. You're talking about nation to nation. Who does that? He said he saw money and he accessed it. No one else in Grenada did it before. Where is that money, Minister, that you accessed? That 2 million US dollars that you accessed. Grant money that you accessed from India. Were they personal or channeled through the Ministry of MIT? Is that the cash that that is in the MIT account, maybe among others, because you speak of the ones for climate change that's easy to access? And I understand those are being channeled through MIT, the ones for climate change. You have a deal with the minister. What was the deal? Tell us, because it seems as though there's something happening there. Now, is that where the $1 million offered to the GDP to wipe out your $3 million loan? You hand them $1 million and then they wipe out the rest. Is that where that $1 million is coming from? Folks, was this that the development bank is broke? Excuse me. And if things ain't happen soon, things happening, but they ain't happening by development bank. They might have to close. It might have to close its doors. The bank is having trouble accessing loans externally, CDB, World Bank. The central government can't help because they too are broke, and the bank cannot borrow independently. Central bank government have to guarantee any loan accessed by the bank. So we're in trouble. We're in deep trouble. Question on healthcare services.
Take a loan for everything. You will be in debt till you can pay. And I think that was happening to some of the African countries. They took loans over what they could pay. And that's a strategy that was done in order to keep them at a certain level. You see, there are more than one ways for someone to keep you attached to them. Right? And I have no apology in saying this is the concept of the NMP. You understand? And let me just say that before I go, because I must say that. I want to go off track, but I must say that. As you're in politics, so you have to have strategies. And the NMP strategy is this. If
everybody in this room have to depend on me for $1 or a meal every day, I will have you as a puppet. But if, in politics, no, if I were to liberate you and make you independent, that's a chance, because I cannot have control of you. Now, the NNP strategy is to give you a handout every day, have you coming back for that handout 10 years after, and you depend on that handout. Our strategy is to uplift people, get them independent, get them working. Sometimes they may not see it now, because they are accustomed to just getting $1 every day. But in time to come, they will see the benefit of having a plan, a long-term plan, so that you do not have to depend on anyone, but you as a man, as a woman, can be able to feed your family by yourself. This is our strategy. So to answer your question, there's no catch to it. It's a grant given to us. We accept it, we look for it, we find it, and we use that grant to build Grenada. Thanks.
Sounds good, huh? You teach a man to fish instead of handing him a fish every day. Yeah, very good concept. Only if you teach him to fish and you hand him a fish, what are you supposed to do? Just sit down and starve to death? And that's what's happening. Because that is all talk. This talk about feeding a man to fish and we go feeding them. They have not done it. They have not done it. And they want to cut the social development, not want to, they've cut it. The estimates in the budget. And so we do have, and this is not a Grenada problem, it's worldwide, around the world. We do have poor and vulnerable persons that needs central government to help them at times. And if you can teach them to fish so they can help themselves, then you have to help them. So what you're talking about? What are you talking about? It's all talk. All talk. The $500 to the nurses and the $1,000 to the doctors, that wasn't a raise in their salaries. It was an honorarium, meaning a voluntary, non-negotiable payment or token of appreciation given to an individual for services. It acts as a thank you gesture rather than a salary. And that is why they can withhold it whenever they want, as was in recent cases. Recent case in point, folks, we've never heard of that South Korea trip that he was busy going on. What happened in South Korea? We've never heard of it. Not sure if he brought with him concepts to South Korea, because we've heard nothing of that South Korea trip from after that day. Now also hosting the post-cabinet briefing, as I mentioned before, was the Minister Lennox Andrew, Minister for Economic Development, Planning, Agriculture and Lands, Forestry, Blue Economy, Marine Resources, and Cooperatives, with an update for the fisher folks on the fish ban. Let's hear the Minister.
Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Press Secretary. Morning greetings to all. Morning greetings to our people of Grenada, and in particular, morning greetings to our fisher folks of our country. In August 2025, Grenada was informed by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, that come January 2026, Grenada will no longer be allowed to export fish and fish products to the United States. The reason being, we have not taken adequate steps to protect sea mammals in line with those comparable with the United States. And that request was made since 2016. Having received that ultimatum, Grenada established a task force to address the issues that were lacking. Specifically, we updated and passed in Parliament our 1986 Fisheries Act to include protection of sea mammals. We enacted new regulations to accompany this act, and we took steps to improve monitoring of vessels with the intended placement of video cameras on our longline vessels. Having completed those tasks, in December 2025, we reapplied for the exportation of fish to the United States. NOAA acknowledged our reapplication and commended us for the efforts made to ensure the safety of sea mammals. At the same time, NOAA indicated that a response to our request to export fish will be given as soon as possible. In effect, the response from NOAA meant that since January, we have not exported fish to the United States. This decision, however, does not mean that we are no longer able to fish in our waters. We are still fishing. Our fish is on sale in our market. The decision, however, has affected long-line commercial fisher folks who are involved mainly in the fishing of yellowfin tuna that is exported to the United States. And I want to emphasize the importance of these long-line fisher folks and the implication of the ban for them. These long-line fisher folks exported 1.6 million pounds of fish in 2022 with an export value of 22.9 million Eastern Caribbean dollars. In 2023, they exported 1.7 million pounds with an export value of 24.4 million Eastern Caribbean dollars. And in 2024, they earned $18.5 million from exporting 1.4 million pounds of fish. So with this ban, obviously the livelihood has been disrupted, and therefore government has taken steps to restore their livelihoods so that they can return to the sea in quick time. This press conference is therefore given to inform the nation of the actions government has taken, working with our private individuals, our private sector, working with our fishermen themselves to restore their livelihoods in the shortest possible time. Essentially, the efforts of government focus on identifying alternative markets here at home, in the region, and also beyond the region. And in this press conference, therefore, I am joined by the following people. Mr. Adrian Welsh, who is a private businessman, and he will speak on our domestic response. Mr. Nigel Gibbs will address our efforts with Republic of Guyana. Mr. Trevor Bishop will speak about our efforts to get our fish exported to Canada. And Mr. Hoyt Oliver will give some details on an agreement we are about to sign on exporting fish to Trinidad and Tobago. I am also joined, I must say, by staff of the Ministry of the Blue Economy and by a number of longline fishermen who are affected by the ban. They are here with us. Finally, I want to add that in addition to our efforts to find alternative markets regionally and internationally, we have taken other measures to ease the burden on our affected longliners. One such measure is to request in writing to the financial institutions who have given loans to the fisher folks to offer them a moratorium on their debt servicing. We have requested the OECS Economic Affairs to seek regional markets and to have us on the agenda with a proposed meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister. And discussions are now ongoing with the People's Republic of China, who through the work of our ambassador in China has given us permission to export fish to China. And discussions are also ongoing with the government and people of Japan on the export of our fish to that country. I want to add by saying that government considers this present situation as an opportunity to take further action to develop a sustainable fishing industry that meet international standards and that can withstand future external shocks. And in that regard, we are giving full consideration to the construction of a modern fish processing plant to produce value-added made-in-Grenada fish products, such as sardines, dry fish, mackerel, etc. And bilateral and multilateral discussions have already begun on financing such a venture.
Really, Minister? Please tell us what actions the government have taken to help the fisher folks. That you come out in a post-cabinet briefing. Folks, in an effort for time, I can bring to you the gentleman that spoke, that trying to see if they could help themselves and fisher folks and the fisher folks. Besides the fact that I don't have the time to bring on the many gentlemen he had brought with him in the post-cabinet briefing, that whole post-cabinet briefing with that Minister for Fisheries, that's a red herring. Nothing but a red herring. Irrelevant information to distract from the actual issue at hand. And the issue is the US ban, the fish ban on Grenada, and whether or not our government is working assiduously to have that ban lifted. Has the government of Grenada done anything in its power, anything extra that they might need to do to have the ban lifted? Of course, alternative market is excellent, but is it economically sustainable? Will it balance their financial stability, their resource efficiency, and social equity, ensuring their resilience against economic shocks? And the answer is a huge no. The government moved to shift focus to other markets, such as Canada and Trinidad and Tobago. I hear something about Guyana. Sounds good politically, but economically, it's illogical. In the US market, fish exports can average around 13 US dollars per pound. In Canada market, it's down to 4 US per pound. The US market, 3 times the Canadian market. Whilst the Trinidad market was offering 5 US dollars, $1 more than the Canadian market. That fell through before it came through. And I did my research. I spoke to the persons involved. It fell through. The gentleman who had planned to try and he said he couldn't do it anymore at this point in time. It fell through. So all this talk, they don't even know what's going on. The work is being done by some fishermen themselves and other private people who looking to invest and make money themselves. And in the final analysis, they would be helping out our farmers. Yes, of course. Right? So all this talk about the government, you bring a trailer load of people to come to your post-cabinet briefing, as if you know what's really going on. They are trying to help themselves because for months they're sitting with no income. So now we're left with the Canada market. Which is so far off the radar that had no right being in a post-cabinet briefing because it's the tip, they're on the tip, right, of the whole thing. But it's just to make as if they're doing something. So here we go. The thing don't just happen so. First of all, to access any international market, Grenada has to satisfy the sanitary and phytosanitary SPS measures to ensure that the product is safe and disease-free. Exactly what the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, was asking for out of the USA. Now, this is fish we're talking about. You can't play with that. This thing can kill people, right? So the same measures. And in some cases, in some continents and countries, it's even more stringent. Like the European market, it's even more stringent than the US market. Secondly, the issue of connectivity, air freight, connection to the Canada market. Fish is typically exported from Grenada by Amerijet. Access to Canada will mean that they have to go through Florida, Miami, because there's no direct connection here with cargo from Grenada to Canada. The product runs the risk having to go through Miami and then to Canada of long transit, which can affect quality or the grade, which also affects the price. Information reaching me is that the potential buyer from Canada is thinking of purchasing his own aircraft to come to Grenada to pick up the fish and bring it to Canada. Now tell me something. Even that, to transport, they don't have dump. The man thinking about buying an aircraft. When is this all going to happen? You might purchase an aircraft just to come and collect the fish. What a song else to you? Kute. You don't build a house. You rich who have a plane, who have big house, who own the shop. And when that over and the sun go down, you go upstairs and all that is done till the next day you go back down below the house to play kukute. Yeah, bottle dolly with grass here and thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. They don't have transportation for the fish yet. The Canadian market they're talking about. As it stands now, the fish will have to leave Grenada to Miami, Miami to Canada. And the man didn't purchase the plane yet. But the post-cabinet briefing talking about shipping to Canada. Now, the United States has imposed import prohibitions on seafood products from foreign fisheries that do not meet US standards under the Marine Mammal Protection Act. Grenada fisheries have been denied comparability findings, meaning they do not meet the necessary standards to export fish to the United States. This decision affects Grenada's ability to export fish, particularly yellowfish tuna, to the US, which is a significant part of its economy. This, administered by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. Grenada shipped on average 50,000 pounds of yellowfish tuna to the United States per week. Folks, this situation has affected hundreds of lives in total. A total of 300 longline fishing boats operates between Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Therefore, we are counting on the government to fix this and fix it ASAP. Our fishing community is on the verge of collapsing. With this, however, if we're not careful, we run the risk of this situation affecting our soursop farmers as well, which no one is speaking of. A potential impact on the fish ban has reduced the outbound cargo load with Amerijet. Now, fish and soursop made up a load. There is no risk that there can be flight cancellations and Amerijet quick to cancel flights. Or maybe the use of a smaller aircraft, which will affect the soursop farmers and the wider business community, of course, because Amerijet, it's a cargo ship, and a lot of businesses ship through Amerijet. A word to the wise: fix it before it affects another industry, our soursop industry. So as I leave, I want to again reiterate to the Prime Minister, the Governor General, all concerned, we call for a commission of inquiry into the National Lottery Authority, Gravel and Concrete, the Postal Corporation, the Ministry of MIT, Andy Williams as Minister, the Grenada Development Bank. Please, we were quick to call commission of inquiry and the former Prime Minister and the briefcase. And there was another one. We have to call, we cannot just fire Mr. William Batiste and let him leave with the monies, the people's monies. What is the reason for firing him? We have the Kaipo situation with Fimber Thomas and the government money. We transferred him. We said, I was told by the registrar for 6 months while they investigate. 6 months have passed. We heard nothing. He was just transferred to the blue economy. What happened to the monies, the hard-earned cash of the government? What happened to that? Where are several, the road projects, the project on the Fort George, the wastage that's taken place. We can't just be going down the road like that. At the end of the day, even if another administration come in to help, we had to start from ground zero. There's no money in the treasury. You can't pay your bills. You're feeding off of the statutory bodies. I was given a question to ask the Prime Minister if everything is okay in Dubai. Prime Minister, is everything okay in Dubai? Folks, that's a wrap on today's episode of Simon Says. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, keeping them honest. Thank you for viewing yet another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. And remember, a better Grenada is possible. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye now. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.